I'm kind of excited to talk about what I have to talk about today, which is the difference between prime lenses and zoom lenses. And just to get the foundation down, prime lenses are lenses that have a fixed focal length, like a 50mm prime lens, as opposed to a zoom lens, which is a lens that has a variable focal length, like, for example, a 70 to 210mm zoom lens. Now, when I first started learning about how to shoot, which was on film, so that's how long ago it was in film school, there was the day when the Carl Zeiss prime lenses arrived in class. It was this metal case that everyone looked at like it was the Ark of the Covenant, and it was opened up and it didn't melt our faces off, but it almost nearly did, just out of pure coolness, because it was this case with little holes cut in foam that had a bunch of these little tiny precious thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars worth of Zeiss prime lenses. There's an 18, a 14, a 21, a 35, an 80. They're the most amazing things I'd ever seen. And I shot film with them and I felt so special. And then I immediately stopped using primes altogether because I started shooting video, and for a really, really long time, you could basically only shoot video if you were an amateur or a prosumer, to use a terrible word, using cameras that had zoom lenses basically welded to the front of them. But now, thanks to the fact that somebody noticed that these consumer grade, or professional grade even, DSLRs, like the Canon 60D, the T2i, the Canon Mark 5D, Mark II 7D, the Nikon Nikkor, these DSLRs just happen to also, aside from shooting really cool, nice looking stills, shoot unbelievably good looking HD video. We're in a position where people that are wanting to shoot a music video, a short film, a commercial, actually kind of maybe have to choose between shooting with prime lenses on these DSLRs or zoom lenses on these DSLRs. Which is why I'm going to go over the very important key differences between zoom lenses and prime lenses.
What's 200M?
Zoom. Zoom, buddy, that's a Z. Zoom. The big difference, generally speaking, is that zoom lenses are versatile. And when you move from a zoom to a prime, you're trading in that versatility for an improvement in basically every single other thing that a lens is designed to do. Because prime lenses have to do less. Because they have a fixed focal length, they're much simpler inside. They have fewer optical elements, meaning there's less room for those optical elements to introduce errors or aberration into the light that's bouncing through them. Because of this, they're sharper. Because of this, they're generally faster, so you can get huge wide apertures. Because of this, they represent color better. And because they're simpler, they tend to be tougher and, generally speaking, cheaper. So why would anyone use a zoom lens if they're not as sharp, not as fast, don't do color as well, they're not as tough, and they're more expensive? Well, because they're versatile. I guess they're also really long and look cool. This is perhaps the most exciting part as somebody that shoots video of the fact that you can now shoot video on these DSLR cameras, is that you can go to the camera store and buy a bunch of old prime lenses that people haven't been paying attention for a really long time and shoot incredibly sharp video with not much light. This is a really cool thing. Now, for my money, and this may be old school, if you've got time to plan your shoot, and you should have time to plan your shoot and the shots you're going to shoot in it, plan in such a way that you can shoot with prime lenses. You won't regret it. If you're shooting some kind of doc out in a hurricane where you don't know what you're going to be shooting and you need to adjust on the fly, get yourself a good, cool-looking, versatile zoom lens. You'll save a bunch of time not having to change the lens on the front of the camera. It won't be as sharp, the color won't be as good, but you'll have a lot more versatility. Although, that being said, what you gain in versatility, the time you'll save not having to switch a bunch of lenses, you might probably often lose in the time it'll take you to set up a bunch of extra lights because your zoom lens won't be as fast as your prime lens, which is a prime example of tit for tat, unlike my tattoo of Professor Zoom, which is a prime example of tat on tit.
Right in the eye.